Morning, Sam.
Morning, André.
This is a new one.
Yeah, morning. That's
morning
it.
one, absolutely.
It's getting earlier and earlier. I mean, last time we did an early afternoon podcast. Now we're in the morning, bright, sunny November brisk morning that we have.
Actually beautiful up there.
Absolutely.
Cold, but yeah. And on that note, we are joined by another special guest.
Absolutely, we are.
Liz Brooks from Grafica by the Sea.
Yes, communications consultant from Grafica by the Sea. No less.
Absolutely.
I got that out in one go.
You did. CC by the Sea.
CC by the Sea.
I'm gonna take that. Yeah, thank you. Always offering new ideas.
Welcome to the podcast, Liz.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So look, we're excited to hear about Grafica by the Sea because you are, of course. Well, actually, do you know what? I'll let you answer this question. I want you to tell us all about Grafica by the Sea. But as we start with most of these podcasts, I'd love to hear about where the business came from, what the journey has been to get you to here now.
Okie dokie. Well, Grafica by the Sea didn't used to be called Grafica by the Sea. It used to be Grafica London. But then we moved out of London and thought, we can't really trade by that name. So we switched to Grafica by the Sea. And before that, we were in another company called Sequential Design. So we had a different, there were the three of us. So we had Brad and I. Brad's my husband and business partner. But also we were joined by Wendy for a little while. But we folded that in 2009. We'd had a really awful 2008 and decided that we would stop. So so she left, and then Brad set up Grafica London. And then in 2010, we moved to Littlehampton. So that's when we became Grafica by the Sea. And as the name suggests, we are graphic designers and branding specialists. So we make sure that companies are able to get to see the people that they want to see because they look the part. There's nothing worse than turning up with no business card or a grotty business card or something that's just too confused and people can't take you seriously. So we just try to make sure that however big our client, they look the part, they can get in front of the people they want to get in front of and hopefully win the business and then take us with them as they get bigger and evolve. So, so we do everything from logos and branding design right the way through to business cards or infographics or anything that people might need to promote their business, whether it's in print or increasingly online, but, it could be PDF, it could be a website, it could be, whatever. So that's what we do.
Basically, there's a very, very broad variety of things that actually Grafica by the Sea gets involved with, because a lot of the time, and certainly just from my own perspective, when I'm thinking about, graphic design consultants or that sort of a market or that sort of an industry, I think, people who are designing, let's say, a logo or something, something for a big corporate thing, or making sure that, these, all the elements kind of sit right and all of the branding guidelines are in place.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing actually is that, yes, while that may be part of it, it's much wider ranging than this.
Well, when you're doing someone's brand, you kind of need to know where it's going to appear, how it's going to be portrayed, because, there are different types of artwork. So if you want a logo, if it's got a background colour to it, that's great, until you want to impose it on a photo or impose it on something else. So you have to make sure that you've got a PNG file that's got no background to it so that you can impose it on whatever you want. It's no good having a JPEG that is a series of dots as an image if you're going to project it onto the side of a bus, because you actually need an EPS file for that, which is expandable. So you don't lose the definition. So depending on what the purpose is, you have to have all that information when you start at the very beginning, because certain things are just not going to work for the intended use. So I was working on a thing this week with Brad, and it's an organisation that's got two logos. One's very traditional and they had it a long time. One, somebody came in and said, we need to be younger, we need to be funkier. So they did that. And then the two were just like appearing in different places around the organisation. And then we sort of said, well, we tried to put one on top of the other, put the part of one onto the other to see if that would work. And it was great. Everybody liked it. And then they said, but if we print it this big, it's not going to show. So we sort of said, right, okay. And now we've set it where the two are together and they can be used separately. So where they've got etched windows and they've got banners and all sorts of things like that, they don't have to reinvent them. But going forward, the two will appear together so that it connects all that consistency and just hopefully saves them money. They're a charity, makes sure that, you know, people go, oh yeah, it's all the same thing. So yeah, but every job's different. You can never really tell.
It isn't, but it's great hearing the way you talk about that. What's really great is hearing that you have actually all these considerations in mind, and you're not just kind of taking, you know, I mean, of course, you can go. At some point, we'll talk about your process with clients, but it's not as if you're just saying, okay, great, we've got this logo to do, great, here you go, done. You know, actually, you're thinking very, very carefully about, you know, making sure the person who's coming to you, the client who's coming to you, understands the nuances about where logos may need to be used, but also helping them to figure out where they maybe have made, you know, whatever decisions they made in the past with their logos, but actually to think wider and broader to help actually really meet their, you know, target audience needs. Because there's so many things you mentioned there that most people just wouldn't think about. And something I want to come on to is those people wouldn't think about it and therefore might just go, do you know what? I'll just go and get that logo from, you know, an online place or Fiverr.
I'll do it in Canva.
I'll do it in Canva and that will do. And I'm sure many people are doing that. Hey, do you know what? I did it myself when I was trying to sort out my own logo for my business, right?
It's understandable.
And I had to start somewhere, okay? But where you're coming from is much more in depth and therefore likely to have a much bigger sustainable impact. But I'd just like to talk to you about that. So where do you separate yourself out from the Fiverr or the Canva or whatever?
Well, you just mentioning that makes me think of a case that we had not so long ago that we can kind of laugh about now-ish. We never got paid for it, but that's a whole story.
Okay.
Because you know they feigned ignorance, but anyway. But there was a lady came to us and she wanted. It was a startup company.
Yeah.
And she wanted. The initial letter of her company name was a B, and she decided that she wanted a beautiful lady,
sure,
to be in the B, and you know, so beautiful flowing hair and beautiful eyelashes and everything else, and in the shape of a B. So Brad worked it up, and he said, "She looks like she's impaled." It just looks. And so I looked at it, I was like, she really does. Like, we can't possibly go with that because it just looks like she's got her head on a stick.
And once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? This is
absolutely.
The issue.
But, you know, if we see it, then, you know, I mean, obviously we probably see more things than other people might, but, you know. So then she said, right, well, she said, yeah, it does look a bit like that, I suppose. She didn't really want to admit it, but she said, well, tip the head back. So we tipped the head back and the hair was flowing or whatever. And we looked at it and we just burst out laughing. And we said, well, we're going to have to tell her. And we were like, with her head tipped back like this, it looks like she's running a brothel.
Yikes.
So we were like, we can't. And she said, well, it's okay. And we were like, no, it really isn't. We can't possibly do that. She was like, eventually she spoke to some other people and they said, you know, I mean, it wasn't even related to the healthcare or anything to do with hair or beauty or anything like that.
I mean, was that what the business was supposed to be? I didn't. What was the business actually?
Cafe.
Okay.
Oh, so it's like a nice cafe that you go to,
cafe in, you know, Prague or Amsterdam. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't even sell like, like it wasn't even a greasy spoon. It was like, so it's like, we don't even think the name quite fits, but you know, so anyway, we just said, we don't think this is working at all.
Wow.
And sometimes the brain disconnects. We had somebody, I mean, a very long time ago now, and she wanted to portray the energy that you get from a spring. So, you know, when you've got a little bubble of water coming up and that new energy, and she wanted to portray that in her logo. So we said, fine. And she said, but I want it in green. We were like, but water. And, so she wanted to have the ripples and everything of water. We said, water's not green, not unless it's a bit nasty. And so it took a long time, and we kept going backwards and forwards because we wanted to. She was very set on green and water, and we knew it wasn't. There's a disconnect in the brain. We knew that. So we said to her, "Well, what about something else that's green that breaks forth? That you've got that initial energy, like a bud."
Mm.
And she said, "Oh, yeah, okay." So we went with flowers and buds, and you've still got that burst of initial energy of new life and everything else, but it doesn't disconnect the brain between the green and the blue. Which, so that's what we did in the end, and we could do something really pretty, and it was lovely, and it really suited her, and she was very happy in the end.
Good.
So yeah.
But I think that's so important though, because I feel like, people come up to you or, sometimes to us about video or photos and stuff, and they have this vision in their head. Obviously, the way we work, we kind of want to make the best for the clients. And it's sometimes really, how do you navigate that line between accepting what they're saying and letting it go, but also informing them, look, this is why we see it this way. This is why we want to do it this way. This is what you should do, really, to keep your branding consistent, to keep the whole process cohesive and make it into something that fits in with what you're trying to achieve. How do you navigate that? Because I find that sometimes it can be really difficult to explain and showcase what we're trying to achieve or the way we see it, because there's a lot that goes in into like branding, into logo creating. It's not just, I want a teardrop and that's it. No, what is your business about? What are your main colors? What's your color scheme? What's your branding like? What's the rest of the website looking like? And how does this fit in with that? Yeah. But then obviously you've got those mismatches where you need to address that. You need to be saying, actually, this doesn't go with your website. This doesn't go with your message. And on top of that, water is not green.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
seafoam green is a colour, though. Is all I'm going to say, right? I'm just going to throw that into the mix.
But that's a sea. That's not a spring. You see.
There it is.
Details.
See, that's it.
Details.
So yeah.
Oh no, I'm picturing a seafoam green spring in my head now.
You probably could. Well, you probably could. One of those,
it's that acid that you were
underwater
talking about
geyser
earlier.
type thing, and or tsunami or something. Right?
Yes.
Let's not go there. How do we navigate it? Well, I think it's all about open communication, and that's where I get involved. So we listen. We question when we're not completely sure that we've got the right thing, or if Brad's heard one thing, I've heard something different, and they can't be married together, then, we go back and we question it, because that's important. Nobody wants to waste a load of time going completely in the wrong direction. So we really sort of say to people, we've got broad shoulders. Tell us if you don't like something. Don't say, oh, yes, I love it, and then go off and moan. Come back to us and say, what were you thinking? Or, I that's not what I thought at all. We had one case where a chap came to us and he wanted a rebrand. He already had a logo that he was using in London, and he was moving to Brighton and wanted to rebrand and bring everything in. And he'd come to us with Pinterest mood boards, and he had loads of different stuff. And we could tell they were all very, very different ideas, but they gave us a feeling. Because so much of this is about the feeling. How does it make someone feel when they see something? Do they feel trust? Do they feel warmth? Do they feel professionalism? Do they feel funkiness? Do they feel... And what does the brand need them to feel? Because you've got to make the two marry up. So he came to us and we had all this stuff, and we went off and did some drafts, and he said, I really like them, but they're not really... No, I'm not sure. So we did a couple more, and then he rang us and he said, what I've realised is if I carry on getting you to do this, he paid us and it was all fine. He was a lovely bloke and really positive experience. And he said, what I've realised is that I actually really like what I've already got. And I thought I wanted to change it, but seeing all the other stuff, I realised that what I really like is what I've already got. But because it's just one thing, can you adapt it so that we can identify between the London clinic and the Brighton clinic? So we said, well, yeah. So we took what he had and did an outline of Big Ben on the London one and of Brighton Dome on the other one. The Palace. He was like, that's brilliant. So he said, I've wasted your time. I said, no, you haven't, because actually what you've done is you've said, I think I want something new, but your brand value is so strong that you don't want to lose that. And so let's just reinforce it. Let's not reinvent the wheel unnecessarily. And he went off really happy. You know, when you're coming up with designs for people, especially when it's branding, because that's so important to the company. There's a very famous quote by a famous designer, and it's, graphic designer. And he says, you can get all sorts of reactions to somebody can give all sorts of reactions to your design. The one to go for is wow. And that might not be because it's the prettiest, the most, wow design, but it's because it completely meets what that person, they're like, wow, you've got what I want. And that's what we go for. And if we don't get the wow, we don't really let up until people have convinced us that they feel that wow, because we think, actually, are you completely sure about this, or are you just being polite? And push a little bit more to go, because you can get something on Fiverr, and yeah, it's done and dusted, but it's just a cookie cutter version. You might be able to change the colours or whatever, but it's unlikely to get that level of essence. The conversation, the research. And we always say to people, tell us what you like, but also tell us what you don't like. Find sites, websites, branding that you think, ugh, and then tell us why you think, ugh, because that way you can gauge it. But I think it's all about open communication and just.
And I think that's where the value comes in. I feel like exactly what you said, the cookie cutter. I think, especially nowadays, because it's so easy for someone to go onto those websites, so easy for someone to prompt something on AI, to get branding stuff, to get a logo, to get all those sorts of things. Everything is starting to look very, dare I say, samey. It's like exactly what you said. Different logo, but it kind of feels the same as that one over there, just with a different color, a little bit of different shape and whatever, but it's the same thing. And I think if people have the time, and I think people really need to start valuing their own voice, their own image. And I think we're going to get to a point where your biggest selling point is going to be you, what you stand for, what your company does and what that stands for, because that's what people will resonate with. Yeah. And obviously, if you're going to go that far as to stand out from the crowd, showing who you are, what you stand for, then you need to do the same with your branding. Because if you are all about being yourself and doing this and doing that, but then your logo was achieved by a Fiverr person, which there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone starts somewhere.
Totally.
And if the budget doesn't stretch that far, absolutely.
It can be a perfect solution for lots of people. Yeah.
That's it. But I think there's a lot to be said about actually going to find someone that can sit down with you, have a conversation about where you want to go, what you're trying to achieve, what you like, what you don't like, to then really help you stand out online, especially. And I think I feel like nowadays, because there's so much stuff that's digital, having your business card, having those posters that you put through people's doors. I get so many spam emails nowadays because it's so easy for someone to just spam you with emails, isn't it?
Because it's free.
That's it.
But funnily enough, I went to a networking lunch yesterday in Brighton, and business cards get passed around, and one lady was sitting there saying, "Oh, we've gone digital." and we've only got digital cards. And
And
it's like, well, you can't pass your phone around for people to snap.
That's it.
And I was like, I need to make that message known that, they have their place. Of course they have their place.
It's a complimentary place, though. It's not. It shouldn't be.
It is. Yeah. And when I'm old enough to remember when the internet came out and people started using it, and so to begin with, it was like, well, what do we look up? Because there wasn't much content on the web at that point. You probably weren't born, but it was. We're talking mid-90s. It was a long time ago.
I still remember those dial-up noises, coming through.
Totally.
Yes.
And so I was sort of introduced to it, and then very quickly afterwards asked to start building intranets and stuff like that. But people were like, "Oh, that's it. That's the end of print," and we were like, "Well, hopefully it will just change." And that's what happened. People don't print as much. But what they do tends to be better, more targeted. There's a lot less paper just being wasted for the sake of it. There's, what has been left is hopefully much more creative print and stuff that stands out because there isn't as much of it. There isn't the noise. The noise comes on the email now. Mm-hmm. And I've got tens of thousands of junk emails that get filtered off but are still there. Yeah. That still creates noise and some, Yeah.
I think, and you never lose something from the tactile connection. And this is it. So there's so many things that, it happened to me just this week, in fact. I was just sorting out some edits and went to get some coffee from the kitchen. And I was just waiting for the kettle to boil. There's a business card here from basically a business that was somehow relevant to my needs at that time. And now that's not going to happen. Or not, well, it might happen. You might come across an email that they send through from a circular or whatever. But what was real about it is that I was there, I stood by the kitchen, picked up this card, felt it, had it in my hand, and immediately I'm drawing the emotional connections from when I met that person.
Yeah.
Right. So that is very different. That experience I wouldn't get from a circular email that's being sent out to say, oh, here's our blog or our newsletter. And those are perfectly valid things. I mean, something that I don't do that I'd like to get into doing is doing some, regular blogs and things. But there's something very, very different about having something in your hand and that the neurons and the connections that makes into your brain that grips you in a way that the online media will never do. Similarly, like you're talking about people, I see this increasingly, people are going, oh, I can just NFC this to your phone. Cool. Do you know what? When am I going to go and look back at my phone business cards?
Yeah.
In fact, that has literally never happened. And I've been to business shows where people do this and say, okay, great, yeah, tap. I've never looked at it again.
No. Whereas I go to shows and I pick up business cards and I've got them in different piles. I write on them where I've met people. I write keywords so that I've got some sort of connection, often connect to people on LinkedIn and that sort of thing. Which, I mean, I took a photo yesterday, but you're absolutely right. I haven't gone back to it already. I mean, it was only yesterday, but again, you take hundreds of photos a week. Well, I do, of little prompts for things or whatever it might be, plus the family and the dog and everything else. But,
that's part of the problem as well. It's because it gets messed in with everything else.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see what's going to happen with AI because there's talk that the bubble's going to burst. The tech bubble around AI. There's talk of, the data centers that are being built in the Arctic and stuff like that are a real problem. So all of a sudden, like FSC paper with a Sawyer ink isn't such a massive environmental issue if you do it. I mean, I'm not one for wasting things unnecessarily. But, it's a very real issue. So,
and I think, coming on to the point that you were talking about, if going back to this example of this business where you said, hey, actually, John, I really like what I already had. And there's two points that I just want to emphasize on this. One is I was really impressed hearing that from you in the way that you clearly care about your client's journey.
Totally.
And you're not just trying to push something on somebody and saying, look, We're very much about understanding where your journey has come from, where it's been now, and where it's going to, and let's be part of that. And if that means that actually what you end up with is a tweaked version of what you already had because that's what you needed, great. And there's so many elements behind this. So there's so many things that we think about when we have our logos. They shape a lot of the times for a lot of businesses. That logo will then shape how you move forward as much as it is part of this is a change we need, or this is a logo we need.
Yeah.
How it looks to you and how you feel as the business owner or somebody working in that company will shape what you do with it. And likewise, I don't know this gentleman you're talking about, but my sense is from the way you talk about it that they were looking at a change, but it wasn't necessarily the change of the logo they needed. There may have been something else that was in the business somehow else that needed a shift. But in their minds, they internalized it and looked at it as actually, if the logo changes, then that will fix this.
Yeah.
Or that will be the way to move forward. I'm speculating. I have no idea what was going on there.
You're absolutely spot on. He had moved from London down south. There were family circumstances that had changed.
Yeah.
And there were all sorts of other things. And it's like almost clean sheet.
Yeah.
But then it's like, actually, I don't want to lose the essence of what I've got. And again, if you give people space to sort of question it, ultimately it's something that underpins everything that people work really hard to get their reputation. And it can be lost in seconds. We've all seen, especially these days, somebody says something out of place and it's just everywhere immediately. But it takes a really long time to get that reputation. So you don't want to lose it by some grotty bit of something or other because you can't be bothered.
Yeah.
And it's our job to be bothered. Ultimately, we're the ones that have to make sure, it works. That's our responsibility. But, the longer you do it, the more you can see the problems potentially coming. And so you sort of say, well, have you considered this? And in some cases, like this woman with the hair, she was absolutely adamant about what she wanted. And we got to the point where we said, okay, we will do what you want. We don't think it's going to work. And she stopped. She didn't actually ever use it because somebody else told her what we told her. She didn't want to hear it from us, but she did hear it from somebody else. Ultimately, you should be. I don't understand why people don't care, that they just think, oh, let's shift that out because it.
But isn't that because, so if I relate something to that, so often when people approach me to do work photography-wise, there are different subsets of potential clients that I get, right? So there are those who are very, very deliberate and very intentional about what they want. There are others who basically somebody else has nagged them to get photos done. And it's not because they're not bothered about it, but they don't necessarily, that where they're at, either in the space of their business or at their space in life, it's just not a priority for them. But they recognize that it should be. So that's one area where you recognize something is important, but you don't quite fully get it. And that's a very different client to somebody who's very intentional and knows exactly what they want. Because the person who just kind of knows it's important but doesn't know why, you have to go on a bit more of a journey with that person to help them connect. And also, I learn a lot from those people as well, because it is a case of actually, well, what was it really that was driving you then? Was it because the missus said you needed it done? Was it because you just kind of, there's, like we were saying about this gentleman, maybe there's a change that's needed, but you're not sure what it is, and maybe the photos are the thing.
Yeah.
Understanding that perspective from a client really helps to hone in that journey. And just like yourself, I've had situations where I've spoken with a client and said, do you know what? Actually, I don't think you need the photos. I think what you need is something different. I think what you're needing is a branding change, and photos can be part of that.
Yeah.
But actually, let's take that step back first and then come back to the drawing board once we figure those other elements out. And I think in your case, and coming back to that example we gave, actually there's a whole life going on behind that person, as there is in every business. So there's some elements of that you're not going to be privy to, or you'll have some understanding from the conversations you get. But until that person has those bits connected, what you'll always get is that slightly like they're satisfied, but maybe not fully, or you come away from that job. Yeah. You come away from that job thinking, I know I delivered something very good, but I can't, there's a certain je ne sais quoi that I can't connect as to why. I've just got a feeling that they're not 100% happy with it, but they are, and they've left a review that says they're great, but something hasn't connected right. And that difference, I think, to understand that is key for any business, but particularly in ones that are dealing with stuff you look at, that represents you and stuff that feels, because what is it representing and who are you?
Yeah. And it, ultimately it then goes back to the target audience. So we had somebody, again, a long time ago, and they said to us, we want a leaflet. We want 30,000 leaflets. We're going to drop them door to door. This was, again, in London. And so we said, right, okay, tell us about it. Told us about it. And we said, you sell to businesses? Yeah. You want to leaflet door to door? Why? Well, because, when people get back from work and they're thinking about a project, they might want to, if it comes through the door, they might think about it. They might think of us. We went, well, actually, people who have got through the door at 8 or 9 at night, having commuted and had a really stressful day at work, they might be company directors. They get through the door. They do not want, some have to, but they don't really want to be thinking of that. And a leaflet through the door is not going to be something that attracts them, and it is going to cost you an awful lot of money to print out 30,000 examples and pay someone to leaflet drop them. We don't think that is going to work for you.
Yeah.
And we gave some other ideas of things that we did think would work. And ultimately, they didn't do any of it. But they didn't waste their money on the 30,000 leaflets. And they didn't go through all that process. And that was the best thing for them. And that was okay. We could have done one leaflet. It's not the biggest of jobs, but they probably wouldn't have come back to us anyway. Yeah. So
yeah. And it's because you care about that client, that you care about the outcome,
and the environment, and the all the other things. Now you could say, well, you're just taking work away from other people or whatever. And yes, to an extent, but we have to be smarter about everything. Everybody's got limited resources, whether that's money, time, emotional resilience, whatever it might be. People don't need extra noise.
Yeah. But what I think what they really need, he says presumptuously, what they need is businesses that really care about the whole picture.
Yeah.
And what you described there is a perfect example of that. And I don't think you're taking away work from other businesses by saying, you shouldn't do this or you don't need this. What you're doing is actually creating a platform that by the time they do come to need those businesses, they're going to be much better equipped to have that conversation with them, but be a lot more fastidious about who they use.
Yeah.
Right. So because they're going to want the same experience they had with you with a printing company. And, there are some great ones out there. And I'll give a shout out to Martin Gumball from Inca Creative Print, who did my business cards after I did some shocking ones that were I just got online and I thought this would do because I had to start somewhere. And only after I got, Martin was so, he's so thorough about making sure that you get exactly what you need. And he gave me so many suggestions as to what it should look like. And then what I got was just like the elixir of the gods versus,
it was your wow.
Yeah, exactly.
That's, again.
Yeah.
What are we aiming for? We're aiming for wow.
Yes. And so I got way more business towards that company than I would have done if I was just kind of unintentional about it or not really understood where the landscape lies. But as I say, the approach that you take helps people to understand where they should be looking and understanding that this isn't just about the picture. It's not just about putting leaflets through a door because you think you should. It's, hang on a minute, let's take a step back and look at a bigger picture of your business and where you're going.
And maximising budget.
Yeah. Yeah, which is so important at the moment.
Return on investment,
You have to look at that so carefully.
Totally.
Now. Yeah.
So we get all that. We run our own business. We know what it's like.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a thought that I always have. Like, what is the return on investment for coming on a podcast? I don't know.
Hey.
The investment being a glass of water. Just remind everyone there's no paid promotions on these podcasts.
Absolutely.
Ever,
but we did get breakfast today, didn't we?
Oh, we did get a cheeky bribe.
That's why. That's why we.
That's why we're being extra nice. Yeah.
Can't help myself.
Be munching away in a minute. But obviously, we talked about logos. We talked about leaflets. That's not the whole spectrum of things that you do, is there? And I kind of want to dive into a bit more of your actual role within Grafica by the Sea. How do you function? What is your core purpose in the whole of Grafica?
Well, I make a reasonable cup of tea, but my coffee's terrible.
Good thing I had the coffee already.
No, my role, so my background being corporate communications and internal staff communications, it's very much about making sure that things fit. So I think we've talked enough about that. But I do, previously did lots of writing, editing, and, proofreading and other events and stuff to make sure that people know what's going on. So that way back when we had sequential design, I was working in a big corporate, a huge company. And then I was pregnant and made redundant at the same time.
Good combination.
Yeah, it was okay. No, it was all right. They kind of looked after me.
Okay, good.
So I came out of that, and they had always said, "Oh well, you never know, something might have come up by the time you're ready to come back." I never made the call, but Brad, in the meantime, was working on newsletters and magazines and stuff like that, and he said, technology's moved on a lot now, but he'd say, right, we need to cut this down by 40 words, or I need to get this shortened, or I need to, fit this in. So, and I was like, well, that's what I was doing. So I started just editing and helping planning and that side of things. So my work now is, obviously I'm the public face of Grafica, because Brad doesn't really like leaving his office. It's a little bit introverted and a little bit agoraphobic, but
Sign of a great creative.
He's in his little office that is surrounded by hundreds, if not thousands, of books, and that's his comfort zone. And
hundreds, if not thousands, of light bulbs, like I do. Yeah, that's good.
They're really cool, though.
I know, right? God.
I do like them.
Everyone takes the mick, but whatever.
No, I like them. I'd have them in my house, but Brad wouldn't. So I don't know what that says about them. But anyway, So I sort of crept into the business a little bit, with a baby and fitting everything around, using the skills that I'd learned, and so today that still applies. So I work with clients on planning their communications. To make sure that they're getting the best use of their resources. What is the end game? How will we know that this has been successful? And let's work back. So making sure that everything is joined up, making sure that everything has a flow, that the timescales are realistic, all of that sort of thing. I go to client meetings, and I run the company, so I do the invoicing, which I don't like doing, but we kind of have to. So all that side of things, doing the business networking, promoting and everything. But actually, what I really love is when somebody says, "Right, this is what we've got. We need to do a campaign. We need to get the message out. What are we going to do?" And they've got ideas, I've got ideas. We bring them together, and then we work on it. That's what I really love doing. It's much more fun than accounting. I say that as a daughter
Shout
of an
out to all the accountants out there. You're doing a great job. Yeah.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
And my dad was a chartered accountant, so I know that. But yeah, it's just something that I think when you've done it, you can't help yourself. It just comes naturally. And so we sort of, well, why do you want to do this? When will we know that it's been successful? that sort of thing.
I think collaborating, especially with the clients, is so important. Like I've recently just experienced that, what it feels like to go to someone and sit down, really listen to what they're saying, and then you work together to achieve that final vision. Because when you're just doing it because you spoke to them once or twice and then you have this vision in your head, you're going still by what you think it's good and what would fit. But when you sit down with those people and actually come together and you get to the final product that was a product of both of you, I think you really are meeting the needs of that person. And it's so important.
But
so important.
With both of your specialities, I mean, particularly yours, Sam, you get one chance in a lot of cases. Yours, you can plan, you might be able to retake stuff, but there will always be video stuff that is only, you get one shot.
And that's it.
With you, it's pretty much, yes, if someone's on stage.
Sorry, can you just do that again?
Yeah. Exactly.
Can you just say I do again, please? You don't get... You don't get that opportunity to work things over. I mean, yes, we have deadlines, but, you pull out the stops to get the deadline. Whereas if you miss your one opportunity, that attention to detail is what makes you so good at your crafts, because you anticipate. I mean, when you both talk about the thought process that you have about, we're going to get, right, we've got this and we've got this and we've got this. All right, okay, so we need to do, and you work back as well. So although it might appear spontaneous, it's not really, because you've put so much thought into
algorithmically, you're thinking of 1,000 things all at once.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the fact that you have all your kit and you have it lined up so that you can switch instantly. If you need to, it's no different really. But you have to do it a lot quicker.
Well, I think, the agility one requires at certain events or weddings and things. Yeah, absolutely. There has to be, you have to always be on it and always looking ahead. And particularly with the performing arts work I do, you almost have to be ahead of yourself in time, and knowing where to stand, how to be poised, what my settings, etc. are. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, and this is what I tell other photographers who maybe sometimes have worked alongside me or have been kind of shadowing me to just understand how I do things. It's like two things: is that the composition is the most important thing, as I'm sure holds true to what Brad does in his creative work. But also, and this will sound a bit strange, but one thing I always tell, like particularly younger people who are shadowing me, is your client doesn't give two things about your excuses.
No.
Right? So if the lighting is rubbish, if the person's standing in the wrong place, if someone got in the way, if something happened technically, your client doesn't care. They want the product that they have got you there for, right? So if you have those two mindsets, just to start with, the composition is everything and your client doesn't care about your excuses. Actually, those two things drive you in a very unique way to make sure that you are getting something special for each and every person. Because sometimes there will be things that are completely out of your control. That act of the gods, it happens that, oh my God, there's something flared into the lens that I could never have accounted for. But you know what? I got everything else right, and I created something really special for that client despite these technical challenges. And I'm not going to them saying, well, that picture could have been better because unfortunately your mate with a phone shone his light and this and this. No. That's not what we're about. It's about understanding that you got me here specifically to do something special for you, and that is what I will deliver every time. Because you don't care about my excuses as to why that may not have happened in the right way. And where you're coming from is very, very similar. And I love the little story that you gave about how you kind of came in and the passion that you show for the communication side of things. There's something really cool about the way you describe that, because it has a ring of just, you're fiercely passionate about not only making sure that the comms work from a Grafica by the Sea point of view, but your experience tells you that people internally in themselves and how they communicate with each other helps you to really build that brand for them, not just here's a thing at the end of the day.
I've worked in big companies with very well paid members of staff. Money is not usually what motivates them. to do better. It's recognition.
Hmm.
They can get a pay rise, or they can go somewhere else and get a pay rise, or they're already, a pay rise isn't going to make a massive difference. But saying thank you, giving them a shout out and saying how well they've done in front of their colleagues, that works. And you can extrapolate, but people are people. They're, everybody's stressed, everybody's worried about, whatever. Everybody's fighting something that you don't know about because you can't see.
Exactly.
And kindness costs nothing and changes everything. And that, thoughtfulness, just, I love it when people do things for me. So, yeah. And it doesn't have to just be in your personal life. Why can't you be nice to your clients and have clients be nice to you? That's, win-win.
So I do it the other way around. I'm nice to my clients, but I'm awful to André, for example.
Hey, I'm used to it. It's been a long time.
I was going to say, he's still here.
I'm still here. I clearly haven't learned my lesson.
That's just the masochism, isn't it, really? That's it. Just always going back for more. That's it.
Just, likes the insults.
That's it. Just love it. Love the whole thing.
In fact, he'll think there's something wrong if I started being nice to him. Like,
That's it.
I'm a bit worried now.
What is going on?
What's
He
happening?
said good morning to me.
I'm about to get sacked from the podcast. What's happening?
And
Sacked.
he smiled.
What?
Oh.
He smiled off camera. What?
Woo!
You actually let me in the house before the starting time.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, it. I think from everything you've said today, it just goes to show how much you care about that journey that your clients go with you, even if it is for them to have that pivotal point where they go, no, actually, I had what I wanted. I just needed it slightly tweaked. And I think people only experience that if they go on that journey with whom they're working with. You can't just have that out of something that you paid £5 for or that you prompted in ChatGPT or whatever. It's that connection. And I feel like, again, I say this all the time, but I feel in a day, in the life that we live now, everything's so digital, it's so important to just make sure that we are building those connections, that we are working with people that, one, value what we do, but also respect our opinions and why we decide and choose to do things in a certain way, and appreciate that. And because the end goal from everything you've said today is that you really care about those companies, about those individuals, and you really want to see them thrive. And the only way to do that, it's by understanding them, understanding where they come from, where they're going, and how you can assist maximize all of that. So I think it's been amazing. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah, and I love hearing the whole journey and the story, like I say, because there's so many things that we can relate to.
You're in the creative industries too, and people make snap decisions as well.
No,
but reputations take a long time to build.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And we've got some things hot off the presses, I guess.
We got some props.
Yes. So
we have brought some props.
I've got one each for you.
Ooh,
so there you go. Sorry, I don't want to bash into the. So this is issue 1 of Gumball Comics. So you used to get Gumballs, well, you still can. So we have done Brad.
ASMR.
Absolutely.
I wish there was like a plastic film to rip off.
Brad, so you've got a little tiny Gumball.
Oh yeah.
All nice and a little tiny comic. And there is also, because it is so tiny, there is also a little magnifying glass in there.
That is beautiful.
And
yes,
a little tiny comic that we've done, Gumball Comics. It's issue 1. It literally arrived yesterday, and does a little bit of storytelling about design. And it is very hard to read.
The magnifying glass works really well.
This is actually really good.
Just resting on the actual is enough to give a
yeah. So yes, but unfortunately, Gumballs, Gumball capsules are unavailable in non-plastic form. We don't like single-use plastic.
Yeah.
So we've devised a competition.
Okay.
Oh.
Here's your little bit of information about your And basically, we want to see the cutest, funniest, or just plain weirdest reuse of the capsule and or the magnifying glass. And we've got a competition that closes on the 12th of December. You are very welcome to enter it because we have 5 hamper prizes. And
well, no pressure to get this episode released before then.
No, because this is for you, and if it's out later, I'm putting that in so that people listening after that know that it's too late.
Yeah. No, we'll definitely get this little snippet out before then, though. 100%.
But and so people can contact us if they want an entry.
So, what's the bigger idea behind this?
Brad is obsessed with comics, always has been. We actually met because I was working for a comics festival in France, and he came over as a cartoonist.
Were you cosplaying, or were you just
no? I don't do dressing up.
Did the hair just stay from then? Just like yes, I was playing Mary Jane Watson and Spider-Man, and it just kind of stuck, right? That's it. That's right. That was when I first met you, Liz. That was my first thought. I was like, oh, she's got like Mary Jane Watson hair. I like it.
Doesn't happen often, but I'm speechless.
And look, that's what Brad thought. That's all I'm going to say.
Never
met the guy, but do you know what? That's exactly what I thought.
I didn't have red hair then. It was very short. And but anyway, so he loves comics, and he's written books on comics and has always wanted to do a tiny comic. And we were looking at what we could do for marketing purposes, and he said, well, why don't I do a Gumball comic? So we're going to do some more of them, but I mean, they're not very easy to produce, and most printers don't want to touch them. But yeah, it's kind of fun, and so we've got lots of ideas for more that we're going to do. But this is the very first one, so we thought we'd launch it with a little competition.
Who did you use, may I ask, just to give them a bit of a shout out?
The printers, Print Matters.
Print Matters. Okay.
Yeah. So they lots of printers. We did quite a few years ago. We did a small brochure that's it's business card size, and it had special finishes on it, and we struggled to get printers that would touch that. So this it was even harder. But so they are based in Hailsham.
Okay, fantastic.
Then again, this is just something else that goes with your vision, with who you are, with what Grafica stands for. The fact that Brad does comics, he's always been involved in that kind of stuff, and now you are implementing it in your own marketing.
Exactly, and something tactile as well.
Infographics.
We've had a bit of a play with, and it's just that is different. How many? The connotations of like. Oh, it reminds me of those Kinder eggs, or it reminds me of something else that you have a fond familiarness with, and
it's just a shame we can't get them that aren't plastic.
No,
but then gave us an opportunity. You see the opportunities in everything.
Yes.
So
I've loved this.
Oh, I'm pleased.
I'm assuming, obviously, being a piggy bank doesn't count as creative.
Well, we don't actually know why they've got the hole in them. And so we've had to put, I mean, graphic design is all about problem solving. So that's why there's a bit of paper in there to stop the magnifying glass from falling out the bottom. But I had to. So if both your boys would like one,
I'll take another one.
There you go.
Fantastic.
So,
yeah, awesome. Love this. So this is as I say, it's just it's great to see this kind of stuff, this innovative thinking around in a world where, like we said already, is so digital, so sort of generic AI image, stock image here, stock image there. And I just. A controversial opinion, guys, just stop doing that. Just stop using AI stock images, because we can all tell, and it doesn't do you any favors. So,
and it's killing the ice caps.
Killing the ice caps.
Yes. It's difficult, isn't it? Because you want to stand out, and obviously you've heard before that actually to stand out online, you need to be posting footage, you need to be doing that. But actually, it's also about, why don't you just speak to a professional who can advise you that actually you might as well just write a blog post that you actually wrote yourself. It might, or you had prompts from AI or whatever. than using an AI image, because all of a sudden it's like email, it's like spam email.
Yeah,
You're just scrolling through a sea
of stock images,
of stock AI images that don't represent you. They don't do you any favors. If anything, it's harming your own business. So just stop. Yeah, there's a professional photographer, professional graphic designer.
I'm not even. This is it. I'm not saying
videographer. Don't forget yourself.
Indeed. But I'm not saying that as a you must use me as a photographer. No, that's not why I'm saying it. I'm saying that look, genuinely speak to people, speak to your client base, see what they think of that. You may be surprised to hear what the feedback you get. Yes. Because it is everywhere now. You cannot go onto LinkedIn without seeing just these, and the way that the AI generates it, it really hits
obvious.
You. It's so obvious.
Wording. You've got like in a world where, and whoever used the word elevate before ChatGPT, nobody did.
Or just the three things separated by commas, and then the end dash.
It's. So
you need to change your teleprompter because he said in a world.
In a world. In a world where André thinks he knows best.
Yeah. But that's where these things come in. They do stand out. These are things that will stand out. And it might not be as cost efficient as writing or writing a prompt on AI or whatever, but people will remember this. This will stick to people's minds.
And there are businesses out there that do fantastic work for copywriting. I know there's some excellent ones that I've met down by the sea towards Brighton and the coast, who create purposefully brilliant content for people that hit all the boxes about ticking SEO and all this kind of stuff that's really important. I mean, that's the crux of what you're trying to do for the most part. So we must never lose this. Never lose the tactility and the authenticity that comes from that, because
reuse.
And reuse, because if your business is going to last a distance or grow the way that you want it to grow, people have to feel it, and this is a brilliant way of achieving that.
Yeah. It's not about us; it's about what people can achieve. So we can be a part of that. But
brilliant, excellent.
Sam, I think it's time for your wonderful final question. Dance, actually.
You didn't tell me about that.
well, no. So yes, but no, André, you're correct. It is time. It is. Play Barbie Girl. But yes.
I'm definitely not dancing to that.
the Aqua version, right? The 90s Aqua version. I'm not doing this whole Dua Lipa stuff, right?
Oh.
Yeah. So as André was alluding to, the final question that we ask everybody who comes here, which is, you've told us a fantastic story about where Grafica by the Sea has come from, your own role in that, and where you've been and where you've got to. So now, where is Liz Brooks going? What is the future of Grafica by the Sea? What's next, and where are you hoping to get to?
Well, we have had some challenging times with people who think that AI is taking over or they can do stuff in Canva. So there's and a while back we used to do website building, which we kind of still do a little bit, but not really. And so it has been quite challenging to stay where we are. And so we want to just sort of, stand our ground, watch this whole AI thing evolve itself into what it's going to become. It's very much in transition at the moment. But we would love to work with more companies. We would love to work with bigger companies. We would love to see some of the brands that we're working with do so much better. And we've got a new year coming soon, and we will have had the budget, and people are going to be hopefully raring to go and picking up the phone and giving us a call and saying, got an idea, how can you help? And we would love to do that. So, just onwards and upwards, really. And let's take every opportunity we can to help each other, spread some kindness, and just generally, work together and have fun together and
share the
grow
journey.
together.
Share the journey.
Share the journey.
Share the journey.
That's a great final message to leave us on, Liz. Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
It sums up everything about your ethos towards how you work and why you work. And that's the best thing about this podcast. It always is. It just you can't hide from the truth of what you bring. Yeah, that's always going to come out naturally, and we love that.
Oh,
So
thank you.
Yeah,
incredible to see what you stand for, what you've done play out, and what you do, and how much you care about who you work with.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if that means explaining why something does work or why something doesn't work. And I think everything you've said today kind of just circles back to that. So yeah, it's been incredible. My final question to you is if any of the viewers that need some rebranding or want just a new logo done or want some leaflets, a new website design, whatever, or some branding colors to stand out, where can they find a bit more information about you?
We've got the graficabythesea.com website. And our email addresses are very easy. They are liz@graficabythesea.com and brad@graficabythesea.com. Grafica is spelt with an F, not PH.
Oh, Portuguese way. Very nice. There you go.
And either through our website or emails, but also we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, and we are on Instagram.
Awesome.
Both as a company and as individuals. So yeah, people can find us that way.
Excellent.
Lovely.
Fantastic. Liz, thanks so much for coming on. It's been great.
Thank you for having me. It's been good fun.
It's been great fun. I love hearing all of that, and just to feel energized from that conversation, which is excellent. So thank you so much.
Brilliant.
Looking forward for the breakfast.
Yes, the bribes are now coming out.
The bribes are now coming out. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you both.
These are great.
Enjoy.